I thought it would be fun to do a little quick catch up. It'll get ready with me. I just really trying to get back into filming on YouTube because that really brings me a lot of joy and just a lot to catch up on. So as far as anything new that I'm using, I wish I had new stuff, but I have been on a really strict no buy for makeup for a while now because everything I do goes right back into Allie's Skin Beauty Suite. So, and I'm covered in head to toe with skincare around here, so I usually don't need any of that either, but I'm always trying new things that I use in the treatment room. So I wish I had some fun new like makeup to share, but I'm just being real with y'all. And anyway, so catching up. Even though I haven't been able to get in here as much as I want, it's still a passion project for me because I really love to just share about beauty and skincare, and I like to hear from you guys what you like. You know, when I was getting back into YouTube, I kept putting this off thinking, you know, my room is a mess. It doesn't look clean and professional. I'm like, this is my house. I try to keep it as organized as I can in my beauty room, but I really want to take advantage of this beautiful sunlight coming in because, you know, it makes the skin look a little better. I can see, you know, now that we're in midlife, we got to have the magnifier like right next to everything. And you can see I have a storage in here because this is where I keep a lot of backup stuff. In my treatment room, it comes overflow into my house, and that's just the way it is, you know, and I'm just going to be real. So one of the things I wanted to share with you was, one, we adopted a dog in September. Her name is Guinea. And I want to talk about the experience a little bit because I don't know if anyone has gone through a pet loss, and then getting a new pet and going through the trials and tribulations of that can be really difficult. Number one, I really encourage anyone who has recently lost a pet to not run out and get a new one right away, because you might make this mistake I did. So when I was doing research on getting a new pup, and there's a little backstory on that too, so I have to use my mirror as I talk to you because I got to see what I'm doing. With respect to the type of dog I rescued, she is a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, like Tuppence was. If you guys know me, I had a Cavalier who came to me as a result of the loss of my mother. In 2015, she had Tuppence, who was a Cavalier that she rescued. And if you're not familiar with the Cavalier King Charles breed, they're really just lap dogs, and they love to snuggle, and they're just super sweet animals, and it was just my mom's favorite breed. And after her passing, obviously, naturally, my husband and I were like, of course we're going to take Tuppence, because why wouldn't we? And he was about 3.5 when we rescued or adopted him, and he was an amazing dog. Like, my mom really loved him. He was super sweet. He had some silly quirks about him, as most dogs do, and sadly, he was one of those Cavaliers that was born with a pretty significant heart murmur right from the start. So that's something that is inherently in the breed, which is kind of a bummer because they can live pretty comfortably for the most part. I mean, he died when he was 12, we were really lucky to have him that long. As long as you're willing to invest in the care. I mean, he needed a lot of medication towards, like, when he got to be about 9, we were lucky. The heart murmur didn't really rear its ugly head till around 9 years old, meaning he needed to get medication and regular checkups and things like that. And he lived a really normal life. He just was always panting all the time, and he couldn't do too much. Like, he, you know, had to get careful about overexerting himself. And, you know, towards the end of his life, we actually wound up doing treatments where I didn't realize they could do this. They can actually remove fluid, because he started getting fluid like humans do built up in his lungs, which is kind of ironic because I think that's what happened to my mom too. And so they can actually remove the fluid. So we were doing that a couple times in the last 2 years of his life until we couldn't. And he said, well, I was home when it happened, and it was the weirdest thing because I really wasn't, I knew his dog was coming because his poor little body, I could tell he wasn't really holding on to nutrition. He was having incontinence issues. So I knew the time was coming, and I just was obviously, as anyone would be, sad about it and try to enjoy his life as much as I could. And he died at home, which was obviously super sad, but I was here for it, and I was, you know, I was close to him. And so after that happened, I was like, I always knew I was going to have another dog, and I really wanted to rescue another Cavalier because my family had, Tuppy would have been the fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth Cavalier that my family had, and my mom was going to have another one, she said, and it would have been the black and tan. So they have 4 different colors. They have the Blenheim, which I think I'm saying it right, is the one that the AKC recognizes and they show. She had that color, the tricolor, which is black, white, and Blenheim, or liver, if you want to say the liver, or like ruby brown. Then there's a full ruby, which was Tuppy, was a full ruby. He was the most beautiful dog. I mean, I have such great pictures of him. I'll put some pictures of him in here. And he was just gorgeous. But she wanted a black and tan next, so I made it my mission. That's what we were going to do. We were going to rescue a black and tan. Now, you know, if you've ever rescued an animal, you don't always get the color, and that's okay. I said I'd always speak very honestly as our first choice, if we could, would be a black and tan, which is like the black and the ruby brown together. Sometimes they have a tiny bit of white, which she does, on their chest, and or anything. You know, I didn't care about the sex of the dog. I was good either way, even though I was more experienced with male dogs. I was open to it. My husband was open to it. And we were going to name the dog Guinness because that's what my mom was going to do. She was going to name the dog Guinness because of the coloring. Well, as you can see, Guinness to me kind of connotates a male dog, and Guinea is girl. So we wound up naming her Guinea, but she came with the name Juniper. And so we kept Juniper as her middle name. So she's Guinness Juniper Hill. And she's just a love. But I made the mistake early after Tuppy's passing, I started joining Facebook groups. I mean, I have a Facebook group. I thought that Facebook groups were trustworthy. You know, you have people with the same likes and interests in the Facebook group. I thought that's a safe spot to look for a dog. It was not. I wound up falling into a conversation with someone who was supposedly selling black and tan puppies. We started exchanging, corresponding, and they said that they could deliver the dog, which is not unusual. Dogs can be delivered, so that wasn't really a red flag for me. They were sending me pictures of the puppy. I picked the puppy out, and then the conversation started to get a little weird. And I actually gave them a deposit because I thought it was legit. They sent me a contract. It looked real. Gave them a deposit, and then stuff started getting weird after that because they started asking for more money. And I'm like, well, I was told that I wasn't going to need to give you any more money because I'd already given you half. And they kept sending me this stuff, how they needed more money for this, that, and the other thing. And I just started getting really weird. And then, this is the kicker. This is why I really want you to listen to this story. During the time that I've been on Instagram, I have followed a lot of people who own Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. And then there was one account of a woman who I adored, had a beautiful black and tan that she showed. And, you know, people can profit off their dogs if they want to do that. And she was, and her dog's name was Naomi, beautiful black and tan Cavalier puppy. And I had been following her. Well, I noticed that one of the pictures that this supposed breeder had been sending me was a baby picture or a puppy picture of this Naomi pup. Spot on, same photo and everything. And the only way I found out was because the woman on Instagram happened to do a comparison of her puppy from when she was born to like current day. And I saw the puppy picture. I'm like, that's the picture these people have been sending me, saying this is the dog they're going to give me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting totally scammed now for sure. So I went back to them and I said, I tried to recoup my money. They had these weird email addresses and I contacted them, and obviously no one responded to me after that. When they figured out that I knew that they were scamming me, and who else? My God. I even reached out to the supposed clients they had. None of the clients were accessible. And if they were, they never responded to me because I had inquiries like, is this person legit? Nobody would respond. So I decided obviously to stop moving forward with the adoption or purchase of this dog. And I also reached out to this woman on Instagram because they don't know that their pictures are being utilized in this way. And so I reached out to her and I said, hey, I just want to give you a heads up. This is what happened to me. Clearly this is your dog. I don't know if you want to put your, like, a watermark or something proprietary in your pictures and videos of Naomi, but know that they're being utilized to try to sell fake Cavaliers to people here. And they weren't, this woman's account, I think she's in Poland. She's not a US citizen. She doesn't live in the US. She lives somewhere in Europe. So we had a little language barrier, but sometimes she posts in English and in her native language. So we were able to figure it out. But she said, she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. So Naomi is now on everything that she does. Like, she puts Naomi's name in all of her videos, all of her pictures. And so I just learned from that experience that as much as I really missed having tuppence, I was weak in the making those decisions. Like, I really should not have just done that. And, you know, now we're out. It was, I think I gave them $300, which isn't really horrible. I mean, it could have been more. I'm glad I figured it out when I did. And my heart was broken, obviously, because I had it in my head that I was getting this dog. So Tuppy passed away in July of 24. And this all happened in September of 24. So it was only been a few months. Now, some people can bounce back right away and get pets really quick. Absolutely, more power to you. Go ahead. I've even seen this happen with my mom when she was alive. When she lost a pup, she was without an animal and really quickly went and adopted a cat in between getting Tuppy. And he was a great cat, but it didn't really fill her heart as well as having Tuppy, or as having a dog. So she wound up adopting Tuppy anyway after that. And I'm like, I don't know. It was a lot. So hopefully, I don't know if this ever, if anyone out there has had the same experience, or know someone that got scammed on Facebook, like, be very careful. Facebook can really reach people that are not honest and don't have integrity in what they're doing. So back to this fake breeder. Everyone's like, well, did you block them on Facebook, or did you report them? I wound up not reporting them. I guess I was so upset at the whole thing. I just removed myself from the group, and the group somehow disappeared after that too. I even recommended another friend to go in that group. Oh my gosh. But it was such a scam. Like, so just beware about that. So little Guinea's been with us now since September of this past year. And how that all came to be, I started applying to different Cavalier King Charles rescue groups, which usually, if you're looking like a breed specific, it's harder because they're not going to have like a million Cavalier rescues. There's only going to be a few. And I would do non-Cavalier rescues also, because there was one rescue that I found that was in like Southern Ohio that sometimes would get Cavalier King Charles. I even joined some rescues here that were not specific to the breed, and I, you know, because sometimes they would come through. I was very open. I had a few different resources. And what wound up happening, there's another situation that happened too. One of the Cavalier rescue groups, I won't mention their name, in case somebody's had a good experience with them. I was following, oh, sorry, she's in the room and probably will bark. I had been following really closely because they had regional locations. So like if you wanted to rescue a dog in the Midwest, that would cover Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, I think. But you could only rescue from that region, which was fine because they don't really want you to travel with the dogs. I guess they want to keep it somewhat close to home because some of these dogs have, trauma and maybe they can't be in the car for long distances. And so that's fine. I didn't mind any of that. So I kept checking and checking and checking. I think there were 2 regions that I was qualifying for, like Midwest and East. And I just never really saw a black and tan. And if I did, they'd be gone in a second. Or they did have some inherent health issues. Now I know that that's going to be a risk that I have to take. So I shouldn't be that picky, I realize, but if it is already listed in there that they were having some type of health issue, behavioral issue, I was like, well, I'm going to keep looking, as much as I want a dog. I'd already been burned once. It's not that critical. I don't mind waiting. Let's, calm down. And so they actually, and I applied for an application so that I had my application current, and they actually reached out to me and said, hey, we have this dog. I don't know how old he was. I think my age requirements were, I think the minimum I was willing to adopt was like 5. And I was okay with a puppy. And I think this dog was like around 1, we'll say. And it was the traditional, like Blenheim, which is the liver and white. And he looked like a cutie pie. And she sent me photos. She said, let me know if you're interested in this dog. And I look at the photos and I'm like, because I've been like stalking this rescue group for over a year or close to a year. And I'm like, I've seen this dog already up for adoption. And so I emailed them back and said, hey, I couldn't help but notice that this dog had already been up for adoption. Why is he up for adoption again? And then she told me the truth. She's like, well, this is the first time in my 30 years of doing business that I had to rehome a dog. And I'm like, okay, red flag. Like, that's what you should have led with. You should have led with, hey, we have a dog that we had to rehome. Don't try to pull the wool over someone's eyes and try to get this dog adopted. I mean, I just thought that was really unprofessional, and I really put a bad taste in my mouth for that rescue group. So I kept looking, like every few months I would look to see if there was a new Cavalier King Charles rescue group out there. And there was. I don't know how I missed it. So the one that we wound up using was cavaliertrust.org. And they got back to me almost within a day after I submitted my application, and that was in July of 25. And they said, we're going to review your application. Once we review it, are you okay to do like a FaceTime call? I'm like, absolutely. So within a day, they had set up a meeting over the phone. We had a FaceTime call. They went through my history. They made sure I knew about the breed, what I was looking for, why I wanted a dog, all the things. Like, they really vetted me well, I thought. Really vetted me well. And they had the person I spoke with has tons of experience breeding Cavaliers themselves. They were a national rescue group. So they didn't limit to regions. They were networking with a lot of breeders all over the United States. And they just seemed really on the up and up. And they said, okay, the next step would be, we would do like a meeting again over FaceTime, and we would do like a tour of your home. Are you good with that? I'm like, yeah, no problem. At the time, I was so nervous though. I'm like, yeah, we can tour my home. And I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So I was doing Rover. I started a Rover business in the fall of 25. And it wound up taking off really well. Met a lot of great families, and I had a regular client's 2 dogs at my house at the time of this tour. And I'm like, is this going to be bad or good? I don't know. I guess it worked out fine. But I prefaced that I had dogs there, and they're like, oh, that's great. We can kind of see how you interact with the pups and, you know, where they are and all that good stuff. And I think they liked the fact that I had been rovering and had a lot of experience with different breeds aside from just the Cavalier. And so that went well. And the ball was rolling. Like, these people are actively, trying to place dogs. They have a website, and they often have dogs on the website. She's like, we really try to rehome puppies before we even get them to the website. You know, we really act quickly. Are you okay having to fly somewhere and pick up a dog or drive somewhere to pick up a dog? I was like, no problem, because there was no fee. There was no fee. These other Cavalier groups charged a fee. They only accept donations. Now, I had to incur costs to go get a dog. That was fine. But I was like, really? You don't charge? She's like, no. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that said a lot to me in the sense that they really they make a point to care for the puppy's future home. And that's the priority over profit. So that spoke volumes to me. I don't even know how well I'm doing my makeup because I'm talking to the camera and I can't really see very well. So don't hold me to this look. Okay, so we did all that in July, and I had given her my range of like puppy to 5. I told her I didn't mind what sex the dog was, but we had a preference on color, but we were totally open to it if it wasn't available. So I think we got Guinea in September, July, August, yeah. We had an opportunity pretty quickly within a month of doing all that to get a puppy. And she's like, are you sure you don't mind a puppy? I'm like, yeah, you know, we can do a puppy. You know, I've done puppies. It's been a while, but sometimes these puppies aren't like brand new puppies. I mean, they've been like 4 months, 5 months, you know, so some of the potty training and stuff already is done because they're in foster care. So we were slated to get a dog from, I think, Oregon. We were going to have to fly out to get him. It was a boy, and he was a traditional liver and white. I was like, okay, good. Yeah, I'm good. This is good. This is what we'll do. Well, then during that time, the woman knew that I kind of really wanted the black and tan. A black and tan came available from a family who was fostering Guinea in Minneapolis. And I was like, oh, I go, can I see a photo? Because that's the other thing. They will not send you any pictures unless they know that you're serious about getting the dog. So you kind of have to be willing to know that you may not necessarily be able to pick. Obviously, if it's on the website, you're picking because you see a photo. But with them, they don't send you anything unless they know you're seriously interested and you've been vetted and all that. So she sent me a picture of Guinea. She was 5.5 months. And I was like, oh my God, she's cute. And she's black and tan. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And we don't have to go as far. We can easily get to Minneapolis, no problem. And so we wound up doing that. We wound up going out and getting her. And they were so sweet because at the time, my husband had some travel plans to Hawaii right around the same time we were going to go get Guinea, and I really wanted him to come with me, but he couldn't because of work. And I had a timeline. I really wanted to get this dog, and so I couldn't expect the family to hold onto the dog even longer. And then you kind of run the risk of a foster family doing a foster fail, which means they'll keep it. And you know, if you want your dog, you got to go get it. So I was like, I guess I'm just gonna go by myself and go get my dog. So I flew out there in September, went to get little Guinea, and it was, I don't know if anyone's ever done this before. It was emotional because these people, this particular foster family already had 3 dogs of their own. They had 1 Cavalier, a German Shepherd, and like a mutt mix of it looked like kind of like a miniature golden retriever. Super sweet family. They were falling in love with Guinea every day, but they knew that she was going to be adopted out. So when they knew I was going to get her, and they knew I couldn't get her, like I had to wait a little bit to go get her, they were sending me videos and pictures of her every day, giving me updates on her behavior, what she was doing, this, that, and the other, which I so appreciated because it made me feel more like I was really gonna, like it was really gonna happen, like they weren't just gonna keep my dog. Super sweet family. And so when I got there, I was like, this is so weird that I'm coming to take away someone's dog, even though they've been prepping me and this was the deal. It was still hard, you know, knowing that I was taking this little dog out of their house. I guess the husband really fell in love with Guinea and really wanted to keep her. But the mom was like, no, we already have 3 dogs. We don't need another dog. So, so when he saw me coming, he was really super sweet. But he didn't even come out to say goodbye to Guinea because he was really sad about her being adopted because he wanted to keep her. So that was really hard. I felt bad. So I'm out there with the mom. You know, I went in the house and I met the family and I met the other dogs, and they were so sweet. And Guinea's playing, having a ball, which helped me realize how she's going to be socialized, and it'll be great because we were doing Rover. I wasn't sure if I should continue doing Rover. A lot of the dogs that we had as clients with Rover, because we don't have children and we didn't have dogs or we didn't have other pets, people lined up to work with us because some dogs don't do well with other pets. They don't do well with kids, or we would have a senior dog or a dog would need medication. Like, so I wasn't sure if I was going to continue Rover because I didn't want Guinea to be, I don't know, I just didn't know if Guinea would go for it and if my clients would go for it. So, so yes, so I was really happy to see that she was socialized with these other dogs. And so we brought her home on the plane, and I was crying my eyes out with the lady, the mom. I'm like, she's like, just go, it's good. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm so grateful for how well they took care of her for me. And then I was like, I got my dog, and I got her in the car. I'll show you some clips. And I got her on the plane, which was so nervous. Well, the next day I flew back to Detroit. I didn't want to just throw her on a plane the same day. And I'd never traveled with a dog that way, so I needed some time to like get the courage up, and it's easy. I made it seem harder than it was. And so we spent the night in a hotel together, and we just played, and, you know, I took her outside and, you know, gave her food and just did all the things that we could do to bond. And then I got her on the plane the next day, and she was super trooper. Like, she was so small, I could easily fit her in a carrier and put her in front of me and underneath the seat. Didn't peep, didn't do anything. She was quiet because I was so nervous. Like, what if she's gonna whimper? You know, even though Minneapolis to Detroit is not a long flight, you know, you don't want to be that person on the plane that has a disruptive dog. But she wasn't. She was fine. And so when I got home, I was like, oh, we made it, Guinea, we made it. And she's been settling in pretty much ever since. And it was so funny because, like, we had been, you know, with Rover, you get all different sizes. I mean, I wasn't really caring how big or small the dogs were that we were getting. And so we've had dogs of all different sizes come through, and she was just so little. We were like, oh my gosh, she's so little. I mean, she's 5.5 months. But she is a smaller Cavalier, 100%. She is definitely on the small side. So, and people are always like, weren't you nervous about rescuing her in the sense of like her behavior and all of that? I'm like, well, I mean, because she was young enough, but I guess it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, I said up to 5, and they've got a lot of habits they've already built in by age 5. But a lot of the dogs that you're going to rescue, based on what I was seeing on the Cavalier site, I don't know about any other sites, were retired breeder dogs. And so they've been like pushing out puppies, and, you know, they're tired. And so they seem to all have relatively decent dispositions anyway. And so the idea of kind of molding her was a little bit more appealing. I didn't have to really worry about bad habits, just not fostering any bad habits. And she has been an absolute joy. Now, mind you, there are some different characteristics with her that I've noticed since having other Cavaliers, but it's all good. she's funny. I think she might have been a runt. She's very protective about her food. So when I started rovering again, obviously we're only taking clients now that can have, you know, can be around other dogs. They have to be
now
socialized.
There are 3 squirrel
And
hunters as opposed to 2.
I want their dog to feel safe and comfortable and
Let's go.
have fun and
Would you
all
like
of
these?
that. So
Get after it.
I did notice right out the gate she was very protective of her food. So okay, we just feed her in a separate area when we have another dog, and she's completely fine with that. And I make sure that the guest dog is completely done with their food, and I pick it up and remove the bowl because she goes looking for it. I guess it's called resource guarding. I'm not familiar with that. I guess it's something inherent in them a little bit, so I don't know if I can correct it necessarily. I just try to work with it. You know, she was new to our home, and I kind of put her in a situation really early on because I had these reservations with clients, and I knew they were going to come through, and I made sure they were okay with me having a puppy, and they were fine. And one of our regulars has 2 terriers. They're border terriers, and we had them so many times. They're practically like, this is their second home, and they were their first. That was the first 2 dogs she met, and they're small, so it worked out great. Like, it was funny though, in the short time that I had Guinea and was working with these 2 terriers, in that short window of time, she was already trying to like establish her role in the house as being, I'm Miss Thing here. Like, you guys can do what you want to do, but Mama runs this roost. And it was so funny because the 2 terriers, they looked at Parma and I like, what did you do? Why did you bring a new dog into this fray? We had a good thing going. So funny. So funny. They've adjusted really well. I mean, they love Guinea. They play. You know, I learned that she was a resource guarder, so I have to be careful of her toys. She's not really good about sharing toys. So we just, you know, have to make adjustments there. She does protect Mama a little bit. So when the dogs come, you know, she wants to sit right next to me, and can get a little cranky when they come with, but she's adjusted really well because we've had, I mean, well, it won't be a year till September, but we've rovered a few times now with different dogs, and she's getting the hang of the fact that we often have other pets here, and she does her behaviors, but you know, we work around it. It seems to be okay. So I'm really happy I rescued her. I shouldn't say rescued. She was rescued. We adopted her. There's a difference. And I'm really glad I did another rescue because I always knew I would want to, because out of all the Cavaliers that my family had, Tuppy was the only one that was adopted, and he was by far the best one out of them all. There's something about adopting a pup that I don't know if maybe they know. I'm not sure, but I just knew that was the way we were gonna go. And so that is the story about adopting my dog. I think maybe that's the big catch up for today. I won't go into too much detail because we're at a half an hour, but I did want to go over the moral of this story is just do your research. If you're really serious about a particular breed, don't be afraid to do it. As far as rescuing, you know, if it's the right rescue, they will provide you all the necessary information. They'll be very transparent. They won't try to hide anything on you like the one did me. You know, they will have references you can contact too. And, you know, if you're in a state where you're in between pets, you know, give yourself that time to mourn. I know it sucks because I know, but here we are again, doing it again. And I know Guinea's not going to live forever, and that sucks. But the way they touch your heart and their life, I mean, I couldn't imagine not having her around. And I'm so grateful that I get to do that I get to have these little fur babies in my life. And share their experiences and their little histories, and you know, it brings joy. I mean, for God's sakes, we need joy in our life, whether it's having a big family, whether you're adopting family or you're adopting fur babies, whatever it is, we need joy. And that, you know, that is so important. And I just, you know, don't let that get in the way. I mean, if you really need your pet back, that pet in your life, and it's been recent, go for it. But it's okay to wait too, and go through the mourning process, and, you know, give yourself that time to heal a little bit, because you're just that much more available. I mean, there are even times when I still miss Tuppy, and I have had Guinea now. Like, there was some guilt there. Like, oh, you know, should I have done this? And I'm glad I did, but you do go through those phases. I didn't think you would, but you do. Because those pups that are so special, or those pets that are so special, they just leave that special imprint in your heart and your life. You know, it is kind of hard to move past, but it's okay to do it. I know that now, and I'm glad that I did. And, you know, I'm just always going to be pro rescue as much, you know, for others if I can. But because there's no guarantee. I mean, I've had people who've had pets from breeders, and I mean, they didn't work out so well. So I just feel like it's a crapshoot either way. Whether you adopt or you get from you purchase from a breeder, I mean, you just have to know what you're getting. Obviously the breeder is going to come with a little bit more, I hate to use this word, more of a guarantee, I guess, more of a certainty about a disposition, because they know the parents of these dogs, because they're breeding them. And if that makes you feel more comfortable, go that route. Completely. Totally understand. I mean, we don't have children, so maybe I would have been more cautious if I did have children and I had to be careful about what I bring into the home. Then maybe I would have done a breeder, but just keep that in mind. I think it's, you know, look at all your options before you rule out doing a rescue. And, you know, my rescuing Cavaliers was because it was kind of a legacy of my mom's that I want to continue. If that wasn't there, I would have rescued a dog anywhere. I love all dogs. I've worked with lots of families that have dogs of all different kinds, and they all have their funny personalities and quirkiness. And, you know, I'm so glad I got to experience that. We do still roll over. I have lowered the weight of the dog though. We were doing up to like 90 pounds, and that gets a little tricky because, number one, my house is kind of small. You have a big dog around and another little dog. It's like crazy. But I wasn't immune, or I wouldn't have been opposed if I had wound up adopting a bigger dog. That just would have been how it would have worked out. And I would have been happy with that too. So, but definitely take your time. Don't rush out and adopt right away until you know you're really ready. Do your research and make sure I just would really stay away from anything on social media. Like, really look for websites that have legitimate sources and referrals that you can contact. The Facebook group thing, I mean, it's just so easy to scam people, clearly, because it happened to me, and it probably has happened to lots of other people. God only knows how many people that woman scammed. You know, they're taking advantage of people at their worst hour. That's the other thing you have to consider. If you're doing it right away, your animal passed away, and now you're really looking for a dog or cat or whoever it is, they might be playing on that, and they know they can do that. So that's not very good, not ethical. So that's my story about my little doggy and adopting. Let me know if you have any questions. If you've had any situations with any rescues that you want to make mention for for anyone here who you want them to be like banned, like don't use them, definitely put them down below. I love to hear your experience about adopting dogs. I know this is not something that was like beauty related. Somehow I managed to get my makeup on somewhat okay without being really focused. So that was the beauty part. But yeah, so we have, you know, sometimes our channels, we just talk about other things. But I'm so excited you were here. Share in below if you have any experiences, anything you want to say about adopting on your own. I look forward to coming back very soon, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching and subscribe. Bye.